What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Win Daily Sports College Football DFS Masterminds. I am Dave Gloeck. That's Joel Shreck. Gloeck and Shreck, as I like to say, as we bring back another edition or episode of our favorite DFS show of the week. I tell you, Joe, I love college football, and I think you do too. Give the listeners a little bit of insight on what happened to your little Sunday Monday play last week.
Had a great Monday. Took down the big tournament for 20K. You know, it's a funny story. If we have a minute before we play the other, I'll tell it quickly. I'm playing every week and I'm following closely. And it was actually my niece's birthday party out in Long Island. So I wasn't as in following and updating things as I normally am. And I had a few players like Rutgers running back who got scratched, who I didn't take out. I had San Jose State's running back who got scratched, who I didn't take out. So I just had a bunch of lineups that were drawing dead, and I played 20 total lineups for the day. So I was like, man, that's a tough start. I had 0 of Oregon State's quarterback, ukulele.
Yes.
So and he went off. So when I saw he went off, and then I had all these guys going dead, I was like, I don't have a chance. I wasn't even looking. I was like, I'm not even following. I can't win. I will say every lineup I had was featured in the LSU FSU game, so I had a lot of those guys. And then as the game was ending, I just opened it up and it said first place. And I was like, whoa. And obviously I ended up holding on and winning. And you know, that strategy of super stacking that game worked out. 3-game slate, that strategy tends to work more than maybe a traditional, 14, 15 game slate that we have coming up this week. But it was a big win, a good way to start the season.
Oh, great way to start a season. And your story is so good. I'm a big Florida State fan. Wearing my Dion, we'll get into that a little bit. Huge win by Florida State in that game, helping you get to the big cash. Joel, I forgot to play DFS that day. I had the Saturday, and I hit some good Saturdays. I played a couple. It was funny. I only hit a couple lineups in our GPPs, but they hit pretty good. I probably only cashed in 15, 20%, but it was good where I did cash. So I was just cruising, just sitting on the beach. I just forgot. And then I see you won, and I'm like, oh, even better, because I played Thursday night, I played Friday, and I played Saturday, and I just forgot the Sunday slate. So I'm glad I didn't take it from you. So good job.
Thank you.
No problem, bro. So, hey, this week, I just want a couple quick things. First glance at the chart, or the slate, I've been in it deep. Joel's been in it deep. I think we're going to have to get really creative at quarterback and running back. I think you're going to have to spend up a receiver. So, there will be some quarterbacks I want to spend up for, but running back, I think there's some real, free squares that we can play for cheap. And then with that, I think this week, more than that, 13 games again, right? I think you're going to have to, cut 4 or 5 games out of this and really dial in 8 to 9. Joel, what are your thoughts first glance at the slate?
Yeah, you're for sure right. You got to narrow your focus. Find the game environments you want to focus on, like the games that have a chance to go back and forth, and narrow it down to them. Like there's a few games at first glance that you could probably eliminate. And when I say eliminate, what that means to me, and that could be different for everyone, but that means to me is there still might be one player, the best player on the best team that I might play. But for the most part, I'm not taking a lot. For the most part, I'm ignoring that game. But maybe the best player on the better team I might still have in my mix.
No, I agree. And hey, am I hearing something? Is it your birthday?
Thank you, Rich. No, it's not my birthday. Rich is my friend. Rich was saying happy birthday to my niece because I was at a birthday party.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Hey, oh, good. Yeah, Rich is. Oh, he said he was doubting you about some URL.
So on week 0, Rich and I were talking about the slate, and I suggested that he play URI's quarterback. And he said, they're 1AA team. Can you really trust URI's quarterback? I don't think you should. Can you really? How well do you really know that? And then I listened to him, and then he scored 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. That was an amazing game. I remember that in week 0 too as well. But all right, let's dive right into this slate. I'll let you steer from here, and let's get some winners going and some picks to help people turn those screens green.
Let's do it. We have a fun slate this week. To echo what Dave was saying earlier, there's definitely a few priority games that we want to target that have some back and forth kind of shootout potential. We'll go through each game like we normally do, back to the normal show, but there'll be some games we can probably skip over relatively quickly. I think there's some chalk that we can fade, in my opinion. Early season, that people might be getting a little over the top on some guys, especially with 14 games. I think chasing chalk here might not be necessary, but there's some just chalkier plays you'll want to look to. So we'll get started with this Notre Dame NC State game, and we'll pull up the depth charts here. We'll start on the Notre Dame side. So we'll look at Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman is an NFL player. Sam Hartman was one time a Heisman finalist and one of the best quarterbacks in the country. My only issue with Sam Hartman is that it's really a run-first offense, and he's just a really good player that happens to be playing quarterback in a run-first offense. But he is really good, and this $8,600 price tag is probably fair for him. The only concern is, does he actually get the opportunity to drop back and throw 30 to 40 times to be able to pay off the price tag? If NC State can keep up, he should. I don't think they will. So maybe I'll play one or two lines with Sam Hartman, but he's definitely not going to be a priority for me. How about you, Dave?
No, he's not. And listen, this is the week that I do think he needs to actually let loose a little bit and open up the passing game. But I watched a lot of that, God bless me, Connecticut and NC State game the first time go around. Had Connecticut, they covered, very happy with that. But this NC State team plays very slow. So I really don't love the game environment. I'm not a Brennan Armstrong guy. I know some people are coming out of UVA, but he ran the ball, I want to say 17 times, and his first read was tuck and run. So it's just going to be a slower paced game. Other thing that I've seen, Hartman's record against NC State, not great. 6 TDs, 6 interceptions in his career, 55% completion percentage. So I don't think it's the right week for Hartman. I think he'll be good, but I don't think he'll be great. So GPPs, I'm out.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And I think Brennan Armstrong is curiously priced here at 9,200. I may have considered him at $2,000 less or more, but at 9,200, I mean, that's outrageous. 2 years ago, that price was fair for him. We haven't seen that version of him in a long time, and now's not the week, I think, to try and chase a Brennan Armstrong. So not too high on the quarterbacks here. Estime, the Notre Dame running back, I like a lot. This is one of the best backs in the country.
Yeah.
Now, is this the best matchup? Probably not. NC State's got a decent defense, but he's almost matchup proof. I mean, he is one of the best backs in the country to find one of the better O-lines. They're going to score points. For him to get there, I think it's just a matter of how many times he'll get in the end zone.
Yeah.
Are you playing Estime at all?
I will play him a little bit. I did see some gaps in the NC State defense, the UConn running back. I remember once they got past the first level, a lot of open space. So I think Estime is worth the play this week. I know it really gets like dicey sometimes in these Notre Dame games because if they take the lead, you don't really see, they start to do backfield share. This game's going to be a little closer with a 7.5 point spread. I do like Estime in this one.
All right. And then on the receivers, Jaden Thompson has established himself as the guy here at Notre Dame. If you're going to play one, it's him. I think he's a little overpriced for what they do on offense. Like, this is not an air it out attack. If they're going to feature a guy, it's him. He'll be the guy that gets there if anyone does. But I don't think it's a spot where you need to prioritize.
I agree. I'm really not. I tried to play the young kid last week, the freshman Easterman. Where is that for Notre Dame?
Great House?
Yes, that's it. And he definitely disappointed. You just don't know who they're going to throw. Last year, we could at least dial in Michael Meyer and really set it and forget it. This year, Notre Dame, it's a really spread out offense with a lot of talent all around. So, yeah, I don't like any receivers in this game. And in fact, this game environment is just not where I want to be. Over-under's okay. It's kind of in the middle of pack 49, but Estime, the running game, I think, is where I'll be in this game.
I would agree. The one other player in this game I'll even mention before we move on is Kevin Concepcion. He's a freshman receiver who now kind of looks like their number one guy. At 4,900, he's affordable. And the reason I'm going to highlight him is because I am finding a hard time finding value plays on this slate. So he's a guy that has some potential here as their top option.
I love that play. I did play him a little bit in that first week game. He's definitely like kind of bubble screen, can break one loose, dynamite speed. So that's not a bad play there at at 49K. I like that.
All right. Let's keep this train moving. For the purposes of DFS, I might be alone on this one. I think this game is interesting.
Oh, it's
not
very
on the Virginia side because Virginia stinks, but James Madison I'm intrigued by because James Madison is really affordable.
Yeah.
And this is a team that I don't think is as bad as the pricing is making them look. I think you have some sleeper potential here with some of these James Madison guys. I think they'll beat Virginia, to be honest. And I think one of these guys will have a big game, and you can find value in doing so. So we'll stay on the James Madison side, and we'll start with Jordan McLeod at quarterback. He's only $5K. That's as cheap as a player that is actually playable is going to be at quarterback, especially. Is Jordan McLeod on your radar, Dave?
Not only is on my radar, he's in probably my top 3-4 player pool. He came in mid game last game for Alonzo Burnett, struggled, was able to rip off 2 touchdowns, and they went right away and just said, he's our starter this week. They were very sluggish in week 1. James Madison's a team that just converted D1 2 years ago, but it was a force everywhere else, and they want to be a force here, and they're playing an in-town, kind of in-state game here. I think they're very motivated to beat teams like this. And I like Jordan McLeod a lot at 5K, like you said. He's also a little bit of a runner too, right? So we always like to, kind of have that in our back pocket. He only had 2 attempts in the first game, but you could get 4 or 5 attempts here, maybe even a goal line run. So he's a dual threat. I like him a lot, actually. 5K. 5K
with the few things you made are spot on. 5K for a quarterback who runs and throws. And not only that, one of the factors that I don't want people to sleep on that you mentioned, that in-state rivalry, those rivalries end up being way more exciting, back and forth. There's something extra there. And to your point, he looked good. And I think people are at first glance, if you're not doing your research, you're going to look at his numbers and be like, oh, he wasn't that good last week. What people aren't seeing is he didn't play most of the game.
You're correct.
He came in late, and when he played, he was great. He just only played a portion of the game. So at first glance, you're going to look at his numbers and say, oh, he's not that good. But the reality is he did that in very little time. And when he plays a whole game, there's a whole lot more potential there.
Yeah, definitely. So I like him. And then when we get to the running back situation, I think Kaelon Black is another one. You might get in the shared state here. He had 12 carries, and his mate in the backfield had 10. So we could get to a situation. Who knows who's going to get the bigger running share? But enough for me. 12 for 125 was really good at 4,200. We're talking GPPs, right? We're trying to win the big money. I think playing someone, and you can pair him with a guy like McLeod. I'm okay with it. I'm okay running them together because James Madison is typically a running team. So I don't expect McLeod to throw for 300. I expect him to throw for 210, 2 touchdowns, and run some, and then pair him up with Black. I really like Black in this one.
I'm with you on Black. And it's hard to find a $4,200 running back with the upside that he has. So I think he's definitely in play for me as a value. And I'm okay with sprinkling some Reggie Brown in there at receiver. He's the top option. If you want to play him with McLeod, you can do so. I don't love him. You don't have to pair a receiver with McLeod, but it does seem like Reggie Brown is the number one option if you're going to.
I like it. I do agree. I think if you're going to pair him up, then leave Black alone. I wouldn't get to like 3 people deep on JMU. I'm okay playing 2 people deep. I mean, this game in itself in the 49.5 point range show a decent, total. So I don't know. Do you love? I just don't know enough to put 3 there and do a full stack. I kind of like you picking your pairs there.
I agree. I think 2 is the ceiling for this team. So I would agree with you. I would keep it to 2. But if you want, you can pick a stack. You can pick one of. Some people prefer to do a pass catcher only and not to have to
correct.
Go into the running. So I'm okay with doing one or the other. But I wouldn't do both. I'm with you on that. And I'm likely not touching Virginia. The only possibility of me playing Virginia is maybe Malachi Fields in a run back with JMU and that this comes a high scoring game. But for the most part, I'm not all that interested in this Virginia offense.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. I'm not very interested in it either. Malachi Fields, I do think, is at least a guy that will get a decent amount of targets. So you could run him back. I just don't think he's a guy that breaks the slate. That's my problem when you play a team like JMU.
I would agree. The only thing that keeps me a little intrigued with him is that they lowered his price pretty low to $4,700. So, he doesn't need to go completely off. Just a pretty good game at $4,700 gets you there.
True. Good point.
All right, let's go to this Purdue Virginia Tech game. I think we'll be pretty quick on this one. My interest in this game is pretty low. I know people out there like Hudson Card as a cheaper option. He has some upside. I just think, I could see it, but if he's going to start getting to be chalky, I don't think he's that good. I just think there's other guys I'd rather go to. So, I won't necessarily say you can't play him. If other people like to go that route, I'm okay with it, but it's not my favorite play here.
Yeah, and I misspoke earlier. Jane used a 40.5 total. My 0 looked like a 9. Here's where we get in the 49.5 total game. And it's I don't want to live a lot in here. But I look back at Purdue Fresno State, 39-35. Very big scoring game, but that total was like high 40s as well. They blew that out. I'm not really sure that's the type of game Purdue wants to play. But in this game, I'm okay with Hudson Card. I'm actually okay with, it depends where you go, but I like Grant Wells. I do. I think Wells gives you a lot of different looks, and to let up 39 against Fresno State just tells me this Purdue defense might not be all that good. And Wells is 7,400 with a guy that put up 30 points in week 1. It definitely 30-point potential in this one.
Is there anyone on Virginia Tech you want to pair with Wells?
Well, you know what? Let me give Yvonne a little credit here. It's a pretty good call, right? I mean, Jennings is a guy that lit it up in week 1. Is definitely their number one, no doubt about it. 6,700, I think it's a fair price. 5 for 72, 2 touchdowns. Grant Wells, look, he's okay, right, overall. But those guys that are okay tend to favor those good guys. So I like the call with Jennings.
I'll add, I think Jalen Lane is a nice pivot off that as well. Jalen Lane was involved in the passing game too, significantly cheaper than Jennings. Not that I don't like Jennings. I think Jennings is the better play. But if you want to get in a GPP, if you want to get different, save some salary, but still get a pass catcher on this offense, Jalen Lane is playable as well.
Yeah, I agree. So, hey, Yvonne, great call. Definitely got a stack of receivers this week. I think, if you're going to play Wells, I almost feel like you got to play Jennings. So, or Lane. I do like that call. If you're going to go light, could even maybe get the 3. But again, in a sneaky game when you're not really sure what Purdue is yet, I wouldn't go too invested in Virginia Tech. Wells runs a lot, right? Like if he really gets into that, he'll just tuck it and go.
There you have it. It's an interesting game. We'll see how that one turns out. And we'll take a move over to this Troy Kansas State game.
I like this one.
All right. Well, I'll let you start here. Who do you like in this game?
Well, I mean, when I look at it, and there's a few ways we can go, obviously. I think Vidal is my favorite in all this at the running back position. Listen, in week 1, he put up 300 plus total yards, didn't score a touchdown, and still dropped 34 DK points. I mean, if he could have, and that's South Alabama. South Alabama is not awful. They were a bowl team last year. I think Kimani Vidal is mispriced. I think 5,900 is a really nice number. I think that's my favorite spot on this card from just, the Troy side.
I'm aligned with you on that. Vidal, not a lot of guys get consistently 20.
That's it.
And he's safe to get 20 carries, and that's a rarity. To combine that with under 6K salary, it's hard to find. So the guaranteed volume for him is there at an affordable rate. So Vidal's the play for me as well. Going on the Kansas State side, I'll say I don't love it, but I will say Will Howard, even though he's way overpriced at 8,900, does have the ability to break the slate. So
yes,
I'm going to have a share or 2 of him because they could score 40 points and he could throw for 2 touchdowns and run for 2. That's possible. So Will Howard's the type of guy that he has a really low floor because they could just run the ball and he could not do much. And he has a really high ceiling. He's kind of a wild card, but he certainly is capable of having a huge day. And he has some guys that you can pair him with. My favorite play on the receiving side here is RJ Garcia.
Yep.
He looked really good last week. He really lit them up. He looks like a really good player to me at 5,800. He's certainly in play. And their tight end is one of the best tight ends in the country. I don't know if I'm going to say his name right. Ben Sinat. But he's good. And they feature him. They get him the ball. He was good last year we were playing with him the year. And now he's there. He's definitely more featured in this offense. So at 4,500, I will have some shares of him, even just alone as a guy that I'm playing for value.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think the good news is Troy is trying to play in a fast-paced environment. I mean, their first game. I picked the wrong guy, but they had a very high-scoring game against South Alabama. But I like you. I do think while he's overpriced, and I get it, Will Howard 8,900. I felt the same about Jaxon Dart last week, but could still swallow that pill. I think, and then he ended up breaking the slate. So I think you can get there with Will Howard. I think you painted a perfect picture, especially if you pair him with RJ Garcia, fade the running game. I think Howard, this is more of a passing team this year. And Sanat, I do like Sanat.
Yep. Yeah, so it's definitely some options here.
And hey, I want to say, Josh Gillum checking in. We're going to talk about this in a second.
Oh, yeah.
I think we didn't get to him yet, but I'm with you. Yeah. Oh, I said Stephen F. Austin. Thank you. I kept saying South Alabama. I got tricked up on my acronyms, but again, a good week for Troy, but one that they let up some points unexpectedly, I think, as well. I'm looking at their numbers now. Yeah. So, they could be had by Kansas State for sure, letting up 30 points to Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, to your point, Kansas State's going to score, right? It's just a matter. They spread it out more. It's a matter of how. All right, Baylor, Utah. This for me is almost a complete fade. I mean,
I'm with you.
Is a very good defensive team. They don't have their quarterback. I have no interest in Bryson Barnes at 8,700. The only guy that I'm considering is Micah Bernard, Utah's running back. They might get a big lead and just give him the ball a bunch, and he could run the clock out. So that's the only play to consider. But I'm not going to play anyone on the Baylor side. And on the Utah side, without Cam Rising, the only guy I'd consider is Bernard.
I'm with you. I'm out of this game. I just don't want to even be in it. I don't want to guess. I don't want to play any of those games, even in week 1 versus Florida. One of the worst defense that we saw in Division I last season. Utah had a couple, big plays, but outside of that, I mean, they kind of struggled and scored on short field. Barnes way too expensive for me to even take a taste of him. Like, I'm done. I think I'm passing this game. I'm with you.
I'm with you. We can move on from here, and now we can have some fun because we are certainly not passing on the Colorado-Nebraska game. Dion has arrived. Colorado is home. And listen, there's plenty of takeaways to take away from week 1. One thing I learned, and listen, they adjusted. They raised the price on all these Colorado offensive players. Not enough. Because here's what we learned. And this is the perfect script, the perfect formula for DFS. You want teams that have bad defenses because they have to score a lot and they have to go back and forth. And Colorado's a bad defense.
Yes.
You want teams that want to play fast. Colorado plays one of the fastest paces in the country. So you're just going to get more possession. So imagine less stops, more possession. It's the perfect formula for DFS, and they're awesome players. These kids aren't scrubs. These kids are awesome. Travis Hunter's one of the best athletes in the country, and he's not alone. Horn was awesome. Weaver was really good. Shedur Sanders, in my opinion, looks like an NFL player.
He does.
And they're going to give him every opportunity to throw the ball 40 to 50 times. At 9,400, I'm not even concerned by the price. I say dial it up as much as you want because I think the price is fair, if not low.
Look, I can't disagree with anything you said, Josh. I agree. It was like I watched that game. Utah didn't look that good. Florida I hate Graham Mertz like so bad. And for some reason, I thought they had a chance to win that game. And they would have if that guy didn't play quarterback. So, held on the ball late. They were driving. But you don't think, and Josh also says he doesn't think Hunter will play that many snaps this week. Look, Deion's crazy. I do think he plays that many snaps. Now, does he play that many snaps weeks 7, 8, 9? We'll see. But
let me ask you this, and Josh, please feel free to comment. Why do you think he's going to play less snaps than last week? Unless there's a more significant injury that I'm aware of, I don't see any reason why they would slow it down. It seemed to work pretty well.
Well, I agree. And think about this. Deion was this 2-sport star. He's a guy that just thinks like you got enough in that tank. I'm going to play you. You're a dog. I'm going to play you. And let's just get to the story. Like there's a lot of things out there. You either love or hate Deion right now. You either love or hate Colorado. I'm in the love train like you. Shedur Sanders looks like everything a pro NFL quarterback could be. He was amazing in week 1, throwing for over 510 yards. And you're right, the pace of this game should be right where we need it. Ignore what Nebraska did against Minnesota. They did their typical, choke a game. They're a team that's going to let up yards. Minnesota can't score. And I think we're going to get another high-scoring environment here. I love everybody. The only one I'm probably maybe doubting myself a little bit on is the running back. I don't know if I'm going to go Dylan Edwards. Like to catch 3 touchdowns out of the backfield is a little bit, I think, out of the norm. I know you have 5 for 135. I'd rather play in the receiver world. I do like, obviously we all like Hunter, but I think Horn's a great play too. So I might pair, if I can find a way to stack Hunter, Horn, and Sanders, I'm going to do it. I think there's enough passing yards and enough balls going around in this game for them to both succeed.
I agree. I'll be honest with you. I'm talking about the Hunter comments. I got nervous last week because there was an injury alert that came up like 20 minutes before kickoff. So I took him out and I figured they wouldn't play him, and they did. And if he was hurt going into last game and they played that much, it doesn't seem like they're going to be holding him back. So I'm going to go with, until I see otherwise, he's playing a whole lot of offense. And if that's the case, he's the best player on the field. We saw that. He's unbelievable. I'm going to keep playing him. I'm with you that Dylan Edwards, it's hard to imagine he duplicates that. And at 6,500, that price has really come up. The other guy to consider here on the running back is Savion Wilkerson, who did lead them in carries. They couldn't run the ball against TCU. They might find it easier to run against Nebraska. At 4K, it's less of a risk. He's much more affordable. If they score a lot of points, that just means he has to rush one in, and he'll pay off his price tag there. But I do want to look at the other side of the ball, because I think what other people aren't, which I haven't heard people talking about this week, Minnesota's a really good defense.
They are.
That's what they played. And that is not going to be the case this week. And people are just like, oh, Nebraska's not that good. They might not be, but I'm not going to hold them playing one of the best defenses in the country against them. Let's see what happens now against a much more beatable defense. I think they're going to find much more success on offense this week. Starting with Jeff Sims. I mean, he's going to be chalky. Everyone knows that. He can run, he can throw, but I'm okay with eating that chalk and playing him there. One of my favorite sneaky plays, which people aren't talking about, is Gabe Ervin.
Yeah.
Gabe Ervin actually was the second rusher. He didn't even lead the team in carries last week. That was a mistake, and Matt Rule said that. And he says, I'm going to fix it. He went out and said, I'm going to get him more involved next week. So we saw how bad Colorado was against the run. And if they have a running back they're looking to prioritize in this game, that tells me he needs to be rostered. So I'm going to be very overweight on Gabe Ervin at 5,400.
Yeah, I like him. Going back to Jeff Sims, I know Josh chimed in earlier. One of his favorites, one of our favorites, 7,200 is just too cheap for a guy. 91 yards rushing versus a good defense last week, coming out of like Georgia Tech, which was a rushing kind of scheme. He'll be able to hit the long ball here or there, but it's a guy that really can. We always look for the dual threats. We say week in and week out. Sims is, I talked Jordan McLeod earlier at 5K. I'm looking at a lot of 9K quarterbacks. Sims is probably, my number 2 in value this week, and value in the 7K range, I think is really good. I love Sims. This game this week, it's the highest point total on the board, right? 60. No, Ole Miss has a little higher, but I think we got to live in this game. Like you said, you can super stack this game a little bit too. I can come out of this game with 5 and I'm happy. It's hard with 13 games to walk out with 6 or 7, and especially with the price tags, but Sims is going to be in play for me for sure.
I will be trying to get 5 in this game.
Yeah.
Often. I think that's because I think there's one other game that we'll get to later on that's going to be super high scoring. I'm going to try and just load my lineup between those 2 games.
Yeah. And Vaughn, that's my point. Like, I still think Deion has a commitment to win with this team and win now. Right. And I think he's going to play the kid as much as he can. And, playing in Colorado, it's not going to be the 95-degree heat that we're getting in the East Coast right now. So I didn't go play him until they start to get, a little later in the season when the wear and tear hits him. But, to Rich's point, can't play 110.
I'll add this too.
I agree.
I'll add this too. He came out as a cornerback, and he was the number 1 cornerback in the country and everything. People are talking about him as a prospect, not just as a cornerback. He could play receiver in the NFL. This guy's explosive.
Yeah.
Maybe they prefer him on offense and he plays less defense. So before we stop saying he can't play, he's only going to play defense. They can't stop anybody anyway. If they're saying we got to win shootouts, let's put our best players on offense. They might just play him on offense and say we'll take him out on defense. So we'll see. But offense might be the priority for him, not defense at this point.
This is a great question. If you're a jabber building, yes. The answer is yes. Shoot for 5. Find a way to fit 5. Like if you're a jabber with low lineups, you got to go for high potential. You just got to do it. Like people are going to be out there really being able to stack 5 or 6 in this game on 10 different lineups. You're going to have to compete with those guys that get it right. So I agree. I think if you're going to pick a game, pick this or pick Ole Miss Tulane, which we'll get to in a second, and try and get your 5 or 6 there. I do.
I agree. I totally agree. Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep this train moving. We'll head over to the afternoon where we have Eastern Kentucky, in-state rivalry that can almost be fully ignored. I mean,
I got one.
Leary's a little overpriced. I'm with you. Ray Davis is
Ray
somebody
Davis.
like.
That's it. It's Ray
Ray
Davis.
Davis is great. He's just 7,700. I mean, and my concern, listen, he can break the slate, no question. He's awesome. But I think my concern is, will he play more than 3 quarters? I mean, I don't think there's any chance he plays more than 3 quarters. This game, I can't imagine it's going to be any somewhat close. So that's my concern, the blowout potential. I mean, I'm also okay with Dane Key. He's an affordable receiver. I think he led them in targets last week. So I think he probably will end up being chalky, but an affordable receiver on the much better team. Dane Key can also get you there.
Yeah, I mean, Eastern Kentucky let up a ton of yards last week. I think to an FCS team. I think that Kentucky rolls all over this team. I guess you're right. The biggest fear is how many quarters you get in. But if you're like Ole Miss last week when Judkins and the others put up the huge weeks, including Trey Harris, you still got your volume in those 3 quarters. So I still think Ray Davis, if I'm looking at the top of this chart, right, and I'm looking at I know Corum can do it, but there's just a lot of talent there, and it's going to be spread out. I know Judkins can do it again, but I think Ray's my favorite out of all of these. So at the top 3. So that's all I play in this game.
I'm with you. All right. How about Texas A&M Miami? This is an interesting one. I'm because of the other games, I am leaning toward kind of like getting away from this game a little bit. But there's certainly shootout potential here. Both of these teams could end up scoring a lot more points than maybe you originally think. And 9K, Kyner Wegman, to me, he's a good player. That's just too much. I can't imagine myself spending up that much for him. But I do like some of the pass catchers on their side, especially Evan Stewart, who was awesome week 1. I think he's one of the better receivers in the country. I'll certainly have some exposure to him. How about you? Who's there at Texas A&M?
There's not much. I can't pay 9K for Weigman. I'm with you. I just can't. And there's not a ton I love on A&M. This is a game that did surprise me with a total that was more in line with some of the other games, but I'm more on the Miami side just because of prices in this game. My favorite is Xavier Restrepo, or if I'm saying it right, Restrepo. Sorry. Restrepo. He had 5 catches, 68 yards. 4,100 is a really good number versus, in a game that you probably you might get into the 20s and 30s. So I think we had a little letdown. I thought Van Dyke let down a little bit in week 1. I definitely had him. I could see him bouncing back a little bit in this game as well. So I'm more on the Miami side just for prices. But I do think this game could score a little bit.
No, I think Restrepo is the right call here. If you remember on the first week, he was the highest priced receiver on this team. So they made a big adjustment. They threw to him. He reminds me a little bit of like a Edelman Welker type, where like he kind of catches a lot of passes underneath. So at 4,100, if he gets 5 or 6 catches, even if he doesn't break the slate, 5 or 6 catches for 50, 60 yards, that's a lot of points. It's point per reception here. So at 4,100, that would pay off. And then if he gets in the end zone, then it's easily paid off. So I think to your point, value-wise, these Miami receivers make sense. Restrepo I like. I think Jacoby George is in play. But Kobe Young's the best receiver on this team. He's explosive. I'm okay with getting some shares of him as well.
Yeah, and from the running backs, Parrish, had a good game, but 9 carries. Like, I don't know, man. 10 yards a carry, I get it, but I can't pay 7,200 if I'm not getting the volume. So I'm probably more in the passing game in this game.
7,200 is just too much. I'm with you. For what he does, for his role, you can't spend that much for that. So we got to look elsewhere on this offense.
I agree.
All right. How about Iowa State, Iowa? Honestly,
Okay.
I probably don't have to pull up the board. It's probably a complete thing. Maybe Iowa's running back because he's decent, but you don't have to play anyone in this game.
A point total of 36. That's 30 below the game we're going to get to in a second. I'm good. I'll pass.
We'll pass. Well, now we can have some fun. Ole Miss Tulane. So basically, there's 2 games to orient yourself around: the Colorado game and this game. This game is going to have fireworks. If you guys followed us last year, you will know. Listen. We'll talk about Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is good. They're going to be explosive. What you might not know is Michael Pratt and Tulane are very good too. Michael Pratt is a baller, and This game is not going to be one-sided. Michael Pratt is going to score points against this Ole Miss defense. He's going to find a way to manufacture offense, and this is going to be a back-and-forth game. I don't know how much Tulane's going to get stops on Ole Miss, and I don't know if Ole Miss is going to get a ton of stops against Tulane. This is going to be a shootout, the perfect game environment we look for. The issue that is both players who I love a lot, Jaxon Dart and Michael Pratt, are not cheap. So it's going to be challenging to build lineups that you can afford, but I will definitely have exposure to both guys. As we go through the depth chart, we'll start here on the Ole Miss side. Listen, he's the most expensive player on the slate, Jaxon Dart, for good reason. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys remember Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State's quarterback?
Absolutely. And he came in at the end of this game last week.
He came to Ole Miss
and played the last quarter.
The job to Jaxon Dart. Didn't make it the starting job. So obviously the guy started 4 years at Oklahoma State. He was awesome. I mean, this Spencer Sanders would start at like 85% of the colleges in the country. And he's not playing here because of how good Jaxon Dart is. So I think that should tell you something. And in a shootout potential games, the sky's the limit for Dart.
Yeah, I agree. And that was the thing. I saw Spencer Sanders come in, mid third quarter last game. He ended up, I think, throwing a couple touchdowns, but I was like, wow. I mean, this guy, like you said, a guy that beat Notre Dame 2 years ago to finish in the top 7-8 in the country in one of the most prominent bowl games and was right there. Like they could have won the Big 12 that year, but Baylor got him at the very last second. And last year, another very competitive year in the top, finished in the top 20, I believe. And he comes here and he's going to waste his senior year. But that's how good Dart is. I'm a fan. I'll play him. Tulane is they're on tempo. I probably like Pratt a little bit better just because you get him for $900 cheaper. But I think both are in play. And from the Ole Miss side, you named it. But I'm going to be a little bit off center here. I'm fading Quentin Junkins this week. I feel like there's just a lot going on in this game. And if I want to get I think I just want to get more in the passing game. At 8,100, the only way I'll play Judkins, I think, is a one-off.
What? Judkins?
I'm going to play him naked if I play him.
You got to play Judkins. Judkins is –
I know I love him. I'm just saying –
I love Judkins.
But I think he's going to be so popular that I'll play him, like I said, naked. I'll play him with the Colorado-Nebraska game. I'll play him with some others. If I get in this game and I want to play 4 or 5, I think I want to get more in the passing game. Could be crazy, but –
listen, what you're spot on about is the salary's got to add up, and you can't play everybody because
I can't. Yeah, that's the point. Yep,
I agree with you on that. I am going to try and get Junkins at as many lineups as I possibly can because let's not forget. I believe, and we'll see how this plays out. I believe Junkins is maybe the most talented back in the country.
Yeah,
and they're going to get him the ball, and in a game that's going to be a back and forth explosive game. Yeah, you can't play Junkins with Dart because you just can't afford that. It doesn't make any sense. You got to pick your choice of how you get your exposure. But at some level, like I haven't decided yet. I might make a rule where I don't have a lineup that doesn't have at least one player from each team in this game.
Agreed.
So at some point, he'll be in the lineup depending on how I mix it up.
And that's just been like, I love Junkins as much as you, as much as anybody. We've been on him since last year, sophomore. He's fantastic. I just think at this in this game, I might want to get a little different. That's all. That's just I like him. I'm going to play him probably 30% of my lineups, but I'm probably going to play him naked more than anything with maybe a run back with Pratt. There's a couple guys on this side. Keys, obviously Jaxon on that side if I can get in the passing game, and I think I can pull it off if I do it that way.
Well, if you do prioritize the passing game here, which receivers are you taking in Ole Miss?
Harris just absolutely blew it up, but I think it's Watkins for me.
Yeah, and it's similar reason that you said about Junkins is kind of like there's no reason not to like Harris, but at some point the salary's got to add up, and at 7,800, it's just hard to afford them all. I think Watkins has just as high of upside in this shootout potential game, so to get the $1,600 savings and a guy with a lot of upside, I think I'm probably going to play more Watkins too, but I'm not going to shy away from Harris where I can sprinkle him in too.
They both had the same amount of targets, both had the same amount of receptions. Difference was 4 touchdowns to 0. So don't get tricked here. So that's why I do think at 1,400 or 1,600 less.
Yeah,
I like Watkins. Now Harris was great, and he definitely won some money for people last week. That was he wasn't. They weren't coming out like last week. He was priced at 6,100. He's ballooned to 78 just because of that game.
Yeah, which is probably an over adjustment.
Agreed.
Actually, and apologize. I should know this. Is Zachary Franklin the guy from that played with Frank Harris last year over in
UTSA.
Yes, that's the same guy he transferred.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good player. They're going to get him too this year. They're going to be really good. They are a tough team. Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a good offense. This is an explosive offense.
Yep, you're dead on. And he's with Frank Harris. Really disappointed last week.
He did.
He made a good move.
Yeah. Frank. Well, listen. It definitely hurts to lose Franklin. Franklin was their best player, so
yeah.
That means Ole Miss is going to be really tough to stop. But we'll go over here. We know we love Pratt already. Pratt's a stud. The running back carries got split up too much. It's too confusing. While they're cheap, I don't think any of them gets enough volume to warrant considering. So this is the passing game we're looking at. But the receivers on this two-lane side are affordable in a shootout. Some of them have got to get there. You got to get exposure. My favorite one's Brazel because of the $4,100 price tag, and he's just so affordable. Allows you to get so much more credit with the rest of your lineup. But I'm certainly not going to shy away from Jaxon or Keys either.
I agree. I mean, Jaxon only had 3 catches, but he broke them out for 106 and 2 TDs, where Brazel still got 4 and got a TD. I think it's worth playing Brazel at that discount, not 1,000 cheaper, 2,100 cheaper. But Lawrence Keys is still probably my favorite of all of them. He's the most talented of the 3. And I think in a game like this where you have to really talent above all, yeah.
I'm with you. So that's it. Keep this in mind. If you take anything away from this show today, the biggest takeaway is play as many players as you can in the Colorado and the Ole Miss game, because these are the 2 games that are going to be shootouts, and these are the game environments that win you fantasy contests.
Yes.
But we're not done yet. A few more games on this slate before we wrap up. We will go to UTEP Northwestern. Easy one here. Play nobody. These teams stink.
Agreed. Listen, just for everybody out there, I live in New Jersey. Northwestern lost to Rutgers.
Yeah, and Rutgers is not good. So this is not. Northwestern's pathetic.
Yeah, Rutgers has 1 or 2 pros every year, and the other 50 whatever stink. So, let's just fade this game.
Northwestern's terrible. I mean, I can also say maybe Deion Hankins at 6K because Northwestern stinks and he'll get a lot of carries, but nothing I like that much there. Michigan, UNLV. First things first, UNLV is untouchable. Not one player on that team to be in your lineup. Michigan, you can play. 9,100 is too much for McCarthy. This is still a run-first team. I'm not paying 9,100 for McCarthy, so he's out. Corum can break the slate, but it looks like they're looking to split the carries at 8,400. I don't see why they'd want to unload him against a team that has no chance of beating them. They'll probably be more conservative until they have a more meaningful game. So it doesn't make sense to play Corum to me at 8,400 in a game where I doubt they're going to give him more than 15 carries. No way. Edwards would be the preferred play at 6,800, who they pretty much split carries last week. It was disappointing, but I do think there's the potential for Edwards to get a little bit more work this week.
Yeah, I agree. I talked about it earlier. If I play a running back of the top 3 or 4, we're going with Kentucky's guy, Ray Davis. I'm not playing Corum here. It just, could he break it? Sure. And I'll applaud you for taking them and breaking the slate. UNLV is terrible. They really are bad. And this game should be over pretty quickly. I'll defend McCarthy a little bit. They threw more with him last week. Now, is that what they're going to do just to try and get him some confidence here? Because they know they're not beating Georgia. They're not beating Alabama. They're not beating these top teams in the nation unless McCarthy can throw a little better. So maybe they're going to rip it out a little bit more. And the recipient of that last week was Roman Wilson, obviously. At 5,400, I could see him more in play than I could see the quarterback. But McCarthy, maybe. I mean, he could get you 30. But, again, with 13 games, I think you can just find better value later.
So I think you make a good point. I think they might be trying to get the passing game more in tune and pushing it. But even if that is the case, I'd prioritize Wilson or Johnson over a 9,100 McCarthy because there's almost no way McCarthy's playing in the fourth quarter. Just nothing. This game won't be close. So I figure you have a better chance. And these receivers are more affordable. These are perfectly affordable price tags for guys in an easy matchup. So that's the route I would probably take if I did want to go to the Michigan passing game.
Yeah, I agree. And that was my point. I think you're going to see a little more throwing. McCarthy, again, could get you 30, but do you really want that with 9,100 when you got guys at 72 that we already talked about earlier with Sims? They could get you 30 as well and save you 2,000. So, yeah, I wouldn't play him.
I'm with you on that one. All right. Now, one thing I did find interesting was East Carolina actually did a decent job against the Michigan rushing attack last week. Their run defense might not be bad. And so here's my point. The chalkiest player of the week is going to be Rasheen Ali, Marshall's running back. He's 4,100. He's got a ton of carries, and he's going to be like 60-something% owned, which is kind of outrageous. I think especially in GPPs, I think I'm going to fade because I think this ECU defense might be formidable, and at that high of a chalk rate, I think it's worth trying to get different somewhere else.
So I think, I opened the show earlier saying there's a few free squares, in my opinion, especially down the running back area. I think Kaelon Black, JMU, and I think Ali is just one of them. I'm okay playing him. Look, he was all freshman, like back in 2021, had injuries last year. Last week, they just showed, hey, he's back. 18 carries, 2 touchdowns, 137 yards. I think they're really I don't think ECU's that good against the run. They had a bad week last week versus FCS team. So I'm on him, but I won't play him at the 60% rate. I do want to try. For me to be able to get an Ole Miss Tulane game, for me to be able to get in Colorado, Nebraska, I'm going to have to pay $4,800 somewhere. So I am going to get in there. I'm with you, but I do think I got to play him a little more than maybe you're thinking. And that's just me.
I think that's fair. I think when you get to a point where it's like, hey, I have all these lineups I love, and out of necessity, I need value, and I can find it there, I'm okay. I like the player. The only thing I don't like about Ali is the ownership. Not
ownership. I know, and I agree.
Yeah. And the point I'm saying, the reason I'm saying that is because I do think ECU might be a little better against the run than maybe the people are thinking. So, but I certainly listen. He's obviously there's no reason he's 60% owned. The play certainly makes sense. Anyone else in this game that you're looking at?
No, not really. I'm going to be honest. I think we got so many other spots to play that this game for me, and it's not really a high total. I think I'm good sticking with Ali. And then, ECU is still trying to feel themselves out after having so many years with Ehlers at quarterback that I'm just not comfortable with anything on ECU right now. Marshall can often flash a decent defense. Their running game is really where I want to focus if I'm with Marshall.
I'm with you there. One name I'll throw out there is Jalen Johnson, the top receiver for ECU. They peppered him with targets at under 5K. He's the guy that could potentially get there as a cheap receiver option. Not a must play, but maybe a sneaky sleeper play if you need some value. That's a wrap for the DFS slate. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. I think there's some explosive games. For building lineup perspective, I'm pretty dialed in on where I want to be and who I want to play. So I'm feeling good about tomorrow. Before we wrap up tonight, Dave, do you have any bets that you want to share with everyone that you're putting in?
Yeah, and listen, last week 2-1, hit Fresno State outright, hit Florida State outright. So there's a couple of games I do like, Joel. I think you did well as well. Excuse me, talking here. As we just kind of start to look in the season, start to unfold itself, we're still trying to find who is who, right? And there's a couple teams out there that I think this week is like one of those prove-it weeks. And for me, that's what Florida State was last week. I think a lot of people are down on Texas A&M, and a lot of people are up on Miami. I'm going to go Texas A&M on the road, -3 to cover that spread. I just think Jimbo's on a kind of make-or-break season, and that's good for him. They play a little bit better when they're under the radar. I'll take A&M -3 at Miami.
I like it. I'll get you. I got one play for you too, and it's Dion. It's prime time. Colorado. Listen, I think they're the real deal. And listen, they got some work to do on defense, but this offense I think is up there with any offense in the country. They're going to score points. Teams need to be a well-oiled machine to keep up with them. I think 3 points is too low. I think they win this game by more than that. So give me Colorado and Dion opening up at home.
All right, and I'll give you one last one. I gave 3 last week, but I'm just going to hold on to one last one here. UConn, while they covered in week 1, I was really disappointed about how they looked. And I think Georgia State is live here. You can get them -2.5, -3. Your key number is still fine with me. Georgia State -3. I like them over UConn. It's just Georgia State has been really good in that conference. They challenged Coastal Carolina, some other teams in the previous years. And here we go. Connecticut, I think just a little overvalued. So I'll take Georgia State. Again, I'm not big on NC State, so that's probably my reasoning, but I like it.
I like it. I like it. That is a wrap for us tonight.
What was this?
RJ Shreck on a hot streak. RJ Shreck is my cousin. He played in the Seattle Mariners minor league system.
Yeah.
And he's getting hot. So yes, RJ.
No, I'm a huge baseball fan. Does he have a card out yet?
he literally just got drafted this year. So
okay.
He's just coming up. He's just coming up.
I'll get his Bowman first.
Big baseball fan, Dave. He played at Vanderbilt last year. He was Vanderbilt's best player. They lost in the playoffs, and then he got drafted this year in the 9th round. He's a little old for a first year in the minors, but he's a good player.
Well, we started to see some guys already that got drafted this year make the majors. The Angels brought up what's his name? But yeah, you're going to see some guys. So I'm keeping an eye on it. That's for sure. And then,
Shreck.
By the way, I had some Lions action last night, so I felt good about that. I even had the money line in a lot of spots. So, looking forward to NFL week 1 too. Joel, you play some NFL DFS. Is there anything that's like standing out right now that you just love?
For me, the biggest standout that I can't get away from, and I wonder if it's becoming popular. I just think the Jaguars are going to have to come out this week firing. The Colts secondary is all rookies.
Yes.
And I don't even like Lawrence that much, but it just seems like a smash spot for him on the first day against a rookie quarterback to score a lot of points. So I think the Jaguars have a big week.
Nice. Yeah, and then there's a couple I like, but I think in that Packers-Bears game, I think you get a lot of value. Even Aaron Jones and Khalil Herbert, 2 running backs on the same side versus 2 rush defenses that were in the bottom 3 last year, 6,300, 5,400, like somewhere in that range. I think even playing them both on a run back and no quarterbacks might be pretty good. Yes, I do play the show. And you know what? My sons are up there playing it right now. So I'm going to have to check this out. If RJ Shreck is in the show, I'll update it. I'll get him.
Oh, yes. No, RJ is a player, not in the show yet, but one day he's going to get there. He is going to make it there in a couple years, and we'll have to play with him in the game. Rich is my friend. Rich plays a lot. You guys should play each other.
Rich, we did our fantasy basketball league.
That's right. Yeah, you know.
Yep.
And yes, we will have some sort of fun wager on Knicks Sixers this year because we have to.
Well, guess what? You can have Harden. But with that, let's wrap this one up. It's going to be a great week 2 here on the CFB DFS Mastermind Show. Joe taking it down, a big one last week. Now we got a bigger slate. Can't wait to see what you got out there. Please, we're Win Daily, right? We're Win Daily Sports. We dropped a new website today, really remodeled, refashioned, really for you, the user, to be able to get in there, navigate a little more, but more importantly, get in the Discord. We'll be in there. Yvonne, who's in our comments all night long, is really prominent in Discord. It writes 2 great articles, usually per week on college football. As we do these shows, Yvonne is just as knowledgeable. So Win Daily Sports, that's more than just what we're doing. Get in there, learn it, feel it. And I can't wait to talk more about this next week, Joel.
Good luck.
All right. Until next week, Friday night, 9:00. Make us your like. This is Dave Gloeck. That's Joel Shreck. Gloeck and Shreck. Until next week, we're out.